yourself. But when it comes to me, I wouldn't wanna be anybody else. Na, 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 na.
Okay, you guys, so we just got upstairs. I just got everything out for the most part. So we're going to go step by step. This is going to be a video that I am mainly showing you mixing the ingredients and such. So you'll hear me talking in the back, but you won't really see me very much. So here we go. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, you guys, so this is our bowl. It's about a medium-sized bowl. We're going to do the pumpkin first. Sorry, I'm trying to get you guys situated where you can see pretty well. So I use a cup of pumpkin puree. This is home done pumpkin puree. I baked the pumpkins myself, then decided to mash them and all of that. But you just take a cup of it. If you don't have regular puree, you can always use the store-bought stuff. It's not going to really change the taste too much. I just prefer fresh pumpkin. So we have that. Then I use a can of sweetened condensed milk. It doesn't really matter what brand you use, as long as it's the sweetened condensed. Some people use evaporated milk for their pumpkin pies, but I do not. This gives it a little bit more of a sweet flavor, a better consistency, and I don't know, I just like it more. It's what I learned when I was little. Isn't it? Can I have one of those sodas in there? Thank you. Oh, let's see. So now we're going to go ahead and give that a good little whisk to combine those in. You can do this with a standalone mixer. Like I said, it's just late, so people are already sleeping, and I don't want to disrupt their sleep. So you just want to whisk that until it's nice and mixed up. Then next we're going to add an egg. Now the best way to do all of your ingredients is if they are room temperature. So the eggs have been out for a while. My cream cheese has been out for a while. Even my pumpkin puree has been out for a little while. Then we're going to whisk that egg in there. Make sure it's well combined. Look how pumpkin-y that looks. Alright, so now to give it that pumpkin flavor, we're going to mix in all our spices. So you need ginger, 1/4 teaspoon, boop, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Again, it doesn't matter what brand you guys use. I'm dropping things everywhere, you guys. So 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. You can use ground cinnamon, cinnamon powder, it doesn't really matter. This will give it that nice pumpkin-y pie flavor. So now you're going to go ahead and whisk those in. Making sure you scrape along the sides as you go. Look at that. It's starting to look so much better. A lot more like actual pumpkin pie filling. Alright, so now we got that all mixed up. You want to make sure that your oven has been preheating at 350 degrees. That's what we're going to be baking our pumpkin on. Now with this recipe, you guys make sure you give yourselves an adequate amount of time because it does take a little while due to the pumpkin and the cheesecake. So now we are going to go ahead and take this mixture and pour it into our crust. Now you can either buy the pre-made crust already. With this recipe, I like to get the 2X. And I like the Keebler kind, but it gives you 2 extra servings, so it's a bigger crust itself, so it holds everything better. A regular one will work. You'll just have a lot of extra cheesecake when you are done. So we're going to pour all of that in there. Now my oven's still heating up, so we're going to set this off to the side for now until it is ready to go. Right back. Alright you guys, so now while the oven's heating up, I guess, and the pumpkin is going to be baking. Sorry, I got thirsty. We are going to make the cheesecake portion of this. Now I know with a lot of recipes, they make them together. They combine the pumpkin with the cheesecake, but I do this on layers, and it's really, really good. So, as you can see, I still have a little bit of pumpkin in there, which is perfectly fine. It just gives the cheesecake a little pumpkin-y flavor. So we're going to take 2 8-ounce things of cream cheese. Whatever brand you prefer is perfectly fine. Just make sure it's 8 ounces or 16 ounces if you just want to buy one. You also want to make sure that this is room temperature because it makes it, 1, a lot easier to mix, and 2, it helps prevent cracking from when you bake your cheesecake. Sorry about the lighting, you guys. I will be improving on that soon. Okay. So normally with the cheesecake, I prefer to use the sweetened condensed milk as well. Unfortunately, I forgot to buy more. Therefore, I do not have any. So we are going to be just using sugar and brown sugar instead. Now the reason I use both sugar and brown sugar is because the brown sugar gives it a little bit more hint of sweetness. Also, it makes it a little bit more moist. So we're going to do about a half a cup of sugar. If you end up using the sweetened condensed milk, you just need 1 can of that. You don't need any additional sugar or anything like that. Or brown. You're going to use the same amount of brown sugar as you did regular sugar, so a half a cup. Make sure it's a packed cup, not loose. And just a little bit more. And make sure it's light brown sugar, not dark brown sugar. If you prefer the flavor of the dark brown sugar, you're more than welcome to do it. I just prefer this one a lot more to dark brown sugar. Alright, you guys, so you should do this with a hand mixer or a standalone mixer. It makes it a lot easier, but I am doing it with my hands because, like I said, people are sleeping and I don't want to interrupt them. So I will be right back as soon as I am done mixing this. Alright, you guys, so I combined the cream cheese and the sugar. As you can see, it's a nice creamy consistency. If you have lumps, that's perfectly fine. It happens. Don't panic. If you have a lot of lumps, go ahead and keep mixing it, but make sure you don't overbeat it. That's why it's best with a hand mixer or a standalone, so you can put it on a low temp and make sure it's well combined and nice and creamy. So now we are going to be adding cream or sour cream. We add 3 tablespoons of sour cream so that it is nice and creamy instead of puffy and dense. This is going to give it a nice airy creaminess to the cheesecake. We're going to go ahead and mix that in. And right now our pumpkin pie is in the oven. We're going to let that bake for a half an hour. When you pull it out, it will not be done, but the cheesecake also has to bake, so we pull the pumpkin out a little early to go ahead and combine it with the cheesecake. That way, when we bake the cheesecake, it is not dry and burnt. It cooks with the cheesecake, luckily. Alright, you guys, so now that we combined the sour cream in there, we're going to take 2 eggs. Large or medium size are perfectly fine. If you do small eggs, go ahead and use 3, just because it's easier. It's going to give you the consistency that you're looking for. I like to add my eggs one at a time and combine those in. As you can see, it's getting that nice creamy texture once I added those eggs in. Make sure it's well combined, but try not to overbeat it again. Now add your second egg, and these 2 are at room temperature, so make sure you give time for everything to come to room temperature. Mixing. Now the color that it is, you'll get that same color if you add sweetened condensed milk as well. If you just use sugar and not brown sugar, you're going to get a whiter cheesecake. But like I said, I like the flavor and the texture that the brown sugar adds. So just making sure you get everything off the sides to make sure all that egg is incorporated in there. And lastly, we are going to be adding vanilla. I add a half a teaspoon of vanilla. You're more welcome to add less or more, depending on how much you want it to taste like. But just remember, vanilla is very strong, so be careful. We're going to go ahead and mix that in. Oh. I like how pretty that is. It just falls. Okay, so now that this is all mixed together, we are still waiting on that pumpkin to be done. I am going to go wash some stuff and I'll be right back. Alright, you guys, so we still have about 20 minutes before that pumpkin pie portion to be taken out and this added on top. So I will see you guys in 20 minutes. You guys, so the pumpkin pie has been in there for about a half an hour. As you can see, it's still a wiggly in the middle, but it's nice and firm on the outsides, which is what you want. That's going to give you the ability to go ahead and pour your cheesecake mixture over the top of it, but ensure that it doesn't mix. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And we're just going to pour it right over the top. Now, as you can see, since the cheesecake is denser than the pumpkin, it does fade into the middle. So you just want to kind of bring your cheesecake out and around and kind of just cover that pumpkin. If you get it mixed in like that is right there, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, it'll just give your cheesecake a little bit more pumpkin-y flavor. Alright, you guys, so once you have done that, try to make it nice and smooth on the top. You might get a little bit of overflow on your sides. If you want to make sure that doesn't happen, just pour a little less of the cheesecake mixture and you will be okay. We're going ahead and take this guy, pop it back in the oven for about 50 minutes and let everything cook. We'll see you then. So it just came out of the oven. It was only in there for about 40 minutes. My oven's kind of weird sometimes, but as you can see, it's still a little wiggly in the middle. We did get a little crack right here. To fix that, you guys can definitely go ahead and bake it with water underneath, so in like a water bath. I didn't have a pan for that today, unfortunately, but it will definitely prevent it from cracking. So now we're going to let it cool for about an hour. We're going to stick it in the refrigerator and let it sit over tonight, and I will show you guys the finished project in the morning. See you then. You guys, so here is the final product. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece, that way you guys can see the layers on it. Alright, you guys, so here is what the cheesecake looks like when you cut a piece of it. Now, the cheesecake is super creamy, so it did cover that pumpkin, but as you can see, there's that pumpkin layer. So I will definitely put the recipe down in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want more baking videos.